Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11. Now, I must say 9.0 with, or 9.01 or whatever, that we played with the Italian campaign, and this has been one of the most stable Black Ices in a long time, but I have had a few crashes recently, and we're coming back just after a crash in there. And it sort of been befuddling me because sometimes it's crashed and sometimes it hasn't. I think you'll note at the end of one of these recent episodes, I was waiting and waiting for my game to save, and it finally did save, and it came through just fine, and then later on it crashed. Now, I think, not sure, I think that it has something to do with my current new system, and this may be affecting you, is partly why I'm wanting to bring this up. Is it seems to be that the system, or the drives, are going to sleep. And drives will go to sleep after a while as a power saving, so that you don't, I don't know whether it's hurt the environment or hurt the your electricity bill or something most, but it's something like that. And I'm all good with well, either one of those theoretically. I don't particularly want to hurt the environment, and I don't need to. I want to save money, electricity. But one of the things I'm willing to throw buckets of money out the window on electricity for is my computer. I'll save it on many other areas, including other electrical areas. You know, instead of having a heater on or something, bundle up more in warmer clothing to some degree. You know, I'm willing to. But my computer, I'm willing to spend the electricity on that. Other elements on my life, we can try to save some money on. So what I did, and I went in on this Windows 10 system, and I told it not to sleep the drive. Now, different drives are, and some of them even may have stuff sort of on the hard drive itself. I noticed that with one of the drives that I put in my older system that had been bought as an external drive, and I took it out of its little box, and it was supposed to be a USB connection kind of thing, and just mounted into my system, and I used it as a storage drive, and it would go to sleep and was really slow to start back up. But whatever. Now, I put Hearts of Iron 3 on my M.2 SSD drive, so it's not a SATA, it's a NVMe drive. So it's about the fastest drive you can get. You can get the you can get faster. This was just an Evo. You can get the Pro thing, and there's maybe a new actual Optane drive or something that might be faster. And there's theoretically a few things faster, but not too much faster. And I did that for several reasons. One, because I start Hearts of Iron 3 a lot with Black Ice, and it is really slow to start. And I do that a lot, especially once I get to modding, even more so than playing the game, because I'll start it, turn on the game, you know, hit this thing, type an event, see if the event fires. Okay, good, that worked, great, turn it off. Now go on to something else. Or it doesn't work, crash, try again. So lots and lots and lots of restarts of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice, and I would 95% of you or more, I've done it many more times than you have because of that. And you know, so you can see why I and it's a fairly small drive, so I'm sticking most of my Steam library onto I also have a hard drive in the system, onto my Western Digital hard drive. So, but a few games are going straight on this small drive. And I'm thinking that even though it's a solid state drive, that maybe it was thinking, and again, I'm just contemplating this here, that it's going to sleep. Because a couple other times I had that sort of wait, wherever. Sometimes I've sort of confused it, and then it sort of works or doesn't work or whatever. So I just, even though it's like putting it to sleep, but it doesn't really go to sleep because it's a solid state drive. I don't know. I mean, that may sound all ridiculous, and I don't know. So I've changed it to go to sleep after there wasn't a never. After 300 minutes. I figure because I actually record these episodes onto the old style hard drive, just for volume's sake, and so that's constantly recording and being used. But once I'm in here, and especially if I've just been talking for a long time and not saving the game, it might be thinking that it's time to go to sleep. That's just sort of what I've thought. I don't know, so I've changed that, and I'm back, and I'm just sort of wondering about that. I don't know if this is the best location for these, but we're putting them up here. See, that is the wrong guy for this division, obviously. Let's get an offensive. Okay, we got not that many rivers, so let's not do a river crossing guy so much. Definitely not Corinth. We got the first of the New Year's, guys. I'm being picky here, aren't I? Let's just give it a good, not a defensive armor guy. Let's go offensive. Yeah, here we go. And I like him. He has good sets of skills, but not for this division. At least he is a... Now here we're going to come out, rivers. Okay, he can have, well, we don't know. Cold, yeah, why not? So there we go. Some good divisional choices there. So, that's just one thing that may be happening with my system, and it may be happening with yours, whether you have a solid state or a SSD or a old style hard drive. Going to sleep may be what's causing some of the save game crashes, because it may have not been accessing the hard drive for a while, and that may cause it to a problem. Now, another thing is, I went in between episodes and went and looked. Again, because this is such a stable system, where my last system was so much, or my last gameplay, or last series with this, it was so unstable, I couldn't do too much. But this one seems to be going good and stable. And so this is also sort of a note to revolverheld. I went in and gutted all of the checks to see that if Tripoli is British held, or not Axis, or not Italian, or whatever, for the Africa Corps events. I did that because he and others may rightly say that, well, hey, if Italy's doing good, Germany, Hitler would have plowed into Russia. Well, yeah, he even plows into Russia when when Mussolini's doing bad down in Italy. But I specifically want to do a Mediterranean-focused campaign, and not just a rescue Mussolini campaign. So I want those desert units, and I'm looking at it as a actual strategic choice of Hitler and crew. So I'm looking at it as such. And I also want them to happen even once I've secured this, because those types of units are useful in other parts of Africa too, because we're going Tanganyika, we're going to push down here into the Arabian Peninsula. And so even though they may be popping up here, instead of Africa Corps, they're the Arabia Corps, or whatever the hell, and that. So I've changed that a little bit. But that's the only thing I've changed about them now. Also, part of the reason I'm informing you is about this change is a bunch of the events that should be firing may or may not be firing at the start of this because of coming from a save. we will see the first. Okay. Well, Ads Hind. Hi, Ads Hind. One of the viewers who is quite often on the live streams on Twitch. So hi if you're watching now. One of our Indian viewers. And you guys, most all of you, of course, if you're watching this, are really into Hearts of Iron 3. You still might want to come and check out the Saturday morning for me on the West Coast. I think it's afternoon, evening time for in Europe. Obviously, the globe's round, hence the globe. And I do know at times we have viewers from Taiwan and other places, so it may be very different times of the day. But you might want to show up anyways, even if you're not big into Hearts of Iron 4, because that's mostly what we're playing. Either now, you might want to look at either the later stuff on YouTube or the live things just to see the wonderful improvements, great improvements that Hearts of Iron 4 has really had. Not saying it's going to replace Hearts of Iron 3 right now. Not saying that at all. But I would say right now, I think if it was a choice between Hearts of Iron 3, Their Finest Hour, and Hearts of Iron 4, Waking the Tiger with the other DLCs, all those DLCs, I think I would pick the Hearts of Iron 4 game. It just getting that good. But it doesn't mean it's as good as Black Ice. And doesn't mean it still doesn't need work. It doesn't mean that I think you're wrong in not wanting to continue to play this, because obviously I'm having fun and I have the other game to play. But then again, Black Ice, if you talk to Panzeru, the primary mover and driver of this game, he knows it's not what his old game was yet, because it took years to get this way. So he's not there yet. And so Black Ice isn't there yet, whether anything else. But so you might, but even if so, like I say, even if you're not big into Hearts of Iron 4, you might want to show up, and because we're hanging out, and we also talk a bunch in between episodes too. There's stuff that you don't see if you watch the later stuff. Talking about World War II, things going on. Even talking about Hearts of Iron 3 and other stuff, and so it's just a fun time, and so, at least most of the people think so that stay around for a while. So you might want to just check it out if you're available on, that time. If not, obviously if you've got something better to do, go do it. Foreign recruitment. If you allow it, obviously we get 5% more manpower and 75 manpower right off the bat, but more supplies, that seems reasonable. Leadership hit, that's fine. I don't know what they're thinking there. Now, land organization, I totally get, because foreign recruitment in the Wehrmacht, because this is not SS, this is the Wehrmacht, lowered the quality of the Wehrmacht because it represents multiple types of units. Maybe not necessarily this guy, but a lot of the recruitment happened in the Soviet Union, and it happened organically. A lot of it did. And a lot of it was started out as Hiwis, probably mispronouncing that, but helpers. They just even started out with Soviet uniforms, minus a lot of the badges, and with an armband. And these guys were non-combat soldier helper type, guys who carried ammunition, and did other sort of stuff for combat units, divisions. And eventually, as time goes on, 4 German divisions, regular German divisions, more and more size units, starting out platoon size, moving to company, moving actually to like battalion size, that were former Soviet soldiers now fighting. As time goes on, they start wearing German jackets. They're not supposed to have that German eagle. I'm not talking about this guy here, but because he may be in the Wehrmacht. But a lot of these guys were technically not in the German army. Even though they were wearing German uniforms, but they weren't in the German army, so they weren't supposed to wear the German eagle with the swastika below it. Now, I've noticed in some of my research, like for a Russian volunteer unit made up of survivors or whatnot from Is that German? Why is that German? Shouldn't that be Italian? That's weird. And that obviously just changed control. I don't know. But okay, whatever. That is sort of odd. Zara should be, but at least it's getting the Italians out of here. Go somewhere else and be useful. The Russian volunteer units that were here, and we'll talk more about them. Sort of the veterans, refugees from the White Army that came out under Wrangel, and their descendants. A lot of them had immigrated to Yugoslavia and stayed in their own communities. They volunteered, and like looking at some of the photos of officers, junior officer type guys, about half of them had the eagle and about half of them didn't. On their officer caps, their cockades, sort of national colors. Some of them would have a different one that I know would be sort of a more oval, that would be a Russian one instead of the. So, and some of them would have the German, and even sometimes the guy who has the German sort of cockade on his hat, just because it probably came on the hat, didn't have the eagle, so I couldn't correlate that. Oh, this must be a German versus a Russian, but this is going on. So I can readily see, and a lot of these helpers and whatever, they're out of the Soviet army, having whatever training the Soviet army has, and now they're fighting with the Germans. And they're not necessarily gone through all the German training, so they're not necessarily German quality. And just having a bunch of guys that don't speak German, going to disrupt your organization. So that's why you have the land organization down by 2.5%. But we have a bunch of other things that keep it up, so that's good. Annual espionage focus. We're just going to go with extra spies. And let's go with short-term boost. And I first was confused, and I went and actually looked at this event and looked everything about this event. Unfortunately, you lost a really good talk when the thing crashed, and it was only about a 20-minute episode, and I didn't want to try to edit these things. That takes too long. So, well, let me see if I can recreate it. I think it was really good. Okay, I'll read this. Introduction of Panzer Division 1941 new model. By the start of Operation Barbarossa, the 21 Panzer divisions were rather different from those in the previous campaigns. On paper, the number of divisions of German Panzer divisions had doubled. In reality, the new Panzer divisions consisted only of one Panzer regiment instead of two, together with, two motorized regiments. The number of tanks in the 1941 style division was therefore relatively small compared to their predecessors' composition. All other units in these formations were fully motorized to match the speed of the tanks. Many of the motorized components were equipped with foreign trucks, particularly a lot of them were of that, artillery and other vehicles. I'm sure some artillery, but a lot of the artillery, at least from the photos of these divisions, is German. Because an artillery piece is an artillery piece is an artillery piece. It just is. And trust me, and again, I'm not disputing that some of that wasn't captured, because I have seen like a Hermann Goering division equipped with French guns and stuff. So I do know that was going on, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff they'd be pulling from other infantry divisions and just attaching them to various mechanized stuff instead of being in other formations. So I don't think so much of the artillery, but a lot of the other vehicles, and a lot of it comes out of French arsenals. A lot of the vehicles do. In the immediate perspective, the overall military potential grew by around 40%. However, the advantage of higher numbers produced the downside of higher maintenance requirements, inadequate supply of spare parts, and supply difficulties inside of Russia. Okay, well, see, this is, and Guderian was highly against this move. So what a Guderian's against, you probably should think that it may not be a good idea. Okay, yes. I remember to some degree what I said before. Sometime after the Americans were, I think it was in Britain, but one of the places could have been over, once they're in here, but somewhere. A British officer goes into and this is from the British perspective, goes into a American tank fitters workshop. Now, I use that term for multiple reasons, and that's sort of the British term, tank fitters. The Americans might not know what that is, but basically that's a mechanic. Goes into the American tank fitter shop and notice something, after being there briefly, notice something missing from the shop. Now, this is something missing from the most industrialized country on the planet that they don't have in their shop. That is a common industrial tool in the British fitters shops for tanks or other stuff. The Americans just don't have it there. Just isn't there. Now, what do you think it could be that the Americans don't have that the British have? Well, now that you've all sort of thought about it for a moment, a vise. One of those things that you mount on a workbench, and you then, heavy metal things that you then use to clamp in an object, could be a part, and then use like a cut on it or file on it or whatever, but hold it very stable. They didn't have any vices in their workshop. Because, you see, when for a Sherman tank, no matter where the Sherman tank was made, and when the war starts, a bunch of the locomotive factories are converted to tank assembling factories. I don't think they made too many of the parts there, because they had a lot of big internal industrial cranes that could easily pick up and move a full tank and whatnot. So they did that. By, I think, 43, 44, something, all but one of them have converted back to making, locomotives. One of them was just doing such a phenomenal job of quality and rapid production that they kept it producing throughout the rest of the war. And they did this as a stopgap measure because they wanted more, locomotives. But they needed the tanks, and it was going to take them a while to build proper tank factories. They built some very good, very rapid tank factories. But you see, a part in America for a Sherman tank, carburetor, a valve, I don't know, a mechanical part, part out of the transmission, whatever it is, made in any one of the factories, any one of the subcontractors for that Sherman tank with that type of engine. Now, because sometimes they did different engines, or they, did a diesel engine, and so they, did some things different in different tanks. But if it was the right part, if the part was going to work at all, if it was the right part for the tank, it just goes into the tank. They just go, drop it in the tank, and it works. No matter what factory it was made in, on what coast, in Chicago, New York, wherever, it doesn't matter. That part for that Sherman tank works in any Sherman tank, anywhere. Again, for that model, that setup, because there were different models at different times. But it works. No matter where it goes, the automotive part works. It just works. But you see, in Britain, with a tank, you get the part, guy tries to fit it in. Doesn't quite fit. Let me go put it in the vise and file on it a bit. No, a little bit more. No, okay, now it goes in. That's why they call them fitters in Britain, because they have to fit the automotive parts together. And see, this is a real issue. Because if you're going to drive a tank from Portsmouth up to Inverness in Britain, a British tank in World War II, if you're going to drive a tank from here to there, you're going to have to stop twice. And I don't mean stop for gasoline, or petrol, as they would say, or stop to sleep, or anything like that. I mean stop and take that tank all apart, work on it, and put it together twice. So days of work. You're going to have to do that twice to get from Portsmouth to Inverness, because that's how quickly the tank's going to wear out, because that was the build quality in Britain for tanks. They were going to wear out. Well, they tested some of the American tanks, early Shermans, or I think it was. And, they start going, drive it up here, and drive it back down here. And I think they drove it back up to here. And then they drove it back up to here, and they realized, but we haven't had to take anything apart to fix anything. I mean, it's literally like back and forth. They drove it, or like all around. They drove the tank so far, and they realized, this hasn't needed any overhauls. It just drove. It didn't break down. It didn't like stop going forward. It didn't like, oh, no longer going forward. What's wrong with it? It just kept going and going and going. And it was a stress test. It wasn't a babying the vehicle test. It was a stress test to find out, well, how much maintenance do these things really take before we get them? And we got to figure all that. No. You just drive them and drive them and drive them, and they just keep working. That's the American Sherman. The Soviets love the American Shermans for training. They got a bunches of them. And so you get like a tank brigade. That was often the size of the unit. A Soviet tank brigade, which is smaller than a brigade because a division is about a brigade size. So it's, two battalion kind of tank unit or whatever. But get that, train it all up there, train them all up on Shermans. And okay, we're ready to go to the front. Okay, here's your new T-34s. Send them off to the front to go fight. They liked the T-34 better because it had heavier armor, better sloping on the armor, and depending on the model, maybe a better gun. The T-34-85. They liked the T-34s. T-34s couldn't drive very far. Now, we'll get to some of that in a minute. I'm trying to recreate my earlier, more impromptu talk. So they loved the American tanks for it. They thought the Shermans and whatnot were a little thin-skinned and a little undergunned as well. But they could drive and drive and drive. So their tank training school, driving school, and then their unit coordination schools, I call them. Meaning the officers are learning how to command the units, but also the troops are learning, how to work together. All that kind of stuff, forming the unit. They really liked using the American Shermans because they could just drive and drive and drive. And they had spare parts problems, but hey, you don't need that many with the Shermans. So if you're talking about moving from here to Paris, you can get most of your German tanks from here to Paris before they need a major overhaul. So you're pretty good. Now, if you're going from here to Moscow, the units that sort of got out to Moscow or whatever out here were down to about 20% in strength. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm just going off of memory here. But we're down to about 20% in strength in tanks. And most of the reasons the units, the tanks weren't there because of mechanical breakdowns. So they were strung out in workshops all along the path of the advance. Not necessarily captured or anything, lost in the sense of there was combat damage, some were destroyed, but most are just broken down, and you get the recovery vehicles out, often those heavy half tracks, and get them to some field workshop, and they're waiting to be worked on because they're only going to work on so many at a time. And so now the Germans had sort of the opposite problem than the British, and my understanding is, and I know this better in firearms, but they are highly their machine tolerance, their machine tolerances are very, very high in that they're precisely working together. So you drive anything in this environment, you're going to, including just stuff generated by its own engines, you're going to get a lot of grit in there. And that's going to make it not work well, and it's going to wear on it. So it's going to wear it out. So you need a lot of maintenance. And now the very, very early Panthers, many of you know some of the stories about the Panthers. They're like the 10 or 20 miles, whatever it was, from the railhead where they're taking off from the rail to where they were going to go. I'm talking the very first ones that they were rushing to the front to get to the Battle of Kursk. About half of them literally broke down and missed the battle just driving that 10 or 20 miles to the front. They couldn't even get that far. And so there was some real mechanical problems with that. But and there has been some debate, and there was once a big debate on the Hearts of Iron 4 forum about Panthers. Panthers have thought to have been having a lot of people think that the transmissions were too weak on Panthers. From watching the YouTube series Inside the Chieftain's Hatch, it's a really good tank series on YouTube. I've sort of, and partially from what they've said, come to the conclusion that maybe the transmission isn't really a problem in a Panther. Because the Panthers are really, once you got the sort of first bugs worked out, is a really highly developed tank. Its engine is a sort of a thing of beauty in that they've carved away all the excess metal to keep it strong, but keep it as light as possible, because an engine is a major weight element on a tank, and they're trying to keep that vehicle light and have the weight, in the armor where it needs to be, and to keep it, still trying to keep it, very maneuverable. But a transmission, if you run it, it's going to get gunked up inside and need some work and need to be rebuilt if you don't, and taken apart, cleaned up, rebuilt, put back together. Now, to get into Panthers, you have to sort of take a whole lot of things apart to get at this transmission, because it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's up in the front. It's really exceedingly hard to get at. Trying to remember if you had to take the turret off to get at it or not. I don't know if you did have to do that, but you had to like pull out major elements. No, it's not the turret. If I'm remembering, sort of not the front glacis, but if I'm remembering, you turn the turret, sort of the gun barrel to the side, and there's sort of the flat top upper deck there that you've got to. It's not hatched, but you've got to disassemble that off. It's like bolted down or whatever. And got to get that out and remove all the driver's seats and mechanisms and the steering mechanisms and whatnot. You've got to move all that kind of stuff out there to haul it out of the tank. So it's a big process just to get the transmission out, just to do the maintenance on it. Now, if you're rushing towards Moscow, this is a problem, but it's not that big of a problem because you break down mostly in your own territory, so you get the people come out and work on it. But if you're fighting a desperate war and you go, oh yeah, it's determined after, driving 50 miles or 100 miles or whatever it is, you need to do maintenance on your tank. Well, if you're sort of desperate because you're losing a war, you may go, oh, we'll wait a few hours or a few days or whatever to do it when we have more time, when we're not desperately needed to be shooting at the enemy. And then when your tank invariably breaks, you're now in a situation that you're on the defensive and you're being shot at and you need to tow. Now maybe you can quickly get another Panther over or somebody else under armor and just hop out briefly and tow the vehicle away. But you may not be able to. And you may not be able to get a thin-skinned big half-track in there to tow it. And you may just not. You just may have to abandon the vehicle because it broke at an inconvenient moment while you're retreating. So this becomes a real serious problem for the Germans. It's not the bad quality, but it's the sort of high quality but high maintenance. And you can look at these road wheels compared to these road wheels. These are interleaved road wheels, meaning to get at this road wheel, you have to take this road wheel off. Where these aren't. You can just take any one of these off at any one time you want. You got to undo the track and whatnot anyways, but you know what I mean. You have to do that here. So this is a really good ride, but also because these interleaved wheels, stuff can get caught in there much more likely with the muck and mud. So you take a lot more attrition with some of the Panzer designs than you do with some other countries. Now the Soviets were just so bad. Their quality was such bad build quality. It they didn't mill things, file things, sand things down very smooth so that they were rough, and as they wear, it wears them smooth, but then it leaves a lot of metal shavings in the parts that start eating at stuff. So they couldn't drive very far. The Soviet tanks are built for their brief life in combat, and that's it. They're done. And either you go to the scrapyard and turn pure to scrap, or you send them back for a complete rebuild. They just die. Where the Germans are designed for many long years of life to go into battle briefly and die. So, you don't going into battle briefly and die doesn't mean that you want to skimp on the thickness of the armor or the power of the engine or the power of the gun, but maybe you don't need super long-lived, high-tech tanks. And that's sort of what Germany had. Now, like I said, Guderian was highly against this. Forget for the moment about different, and I do know that there were lots of different trucks and other supply support elements. Forget about that for the moment. Even if you presume that all of them are the same of it, you're putting out more units that are needing more gasoline, more motorized infantry brigades without is nearly the equal punch. So it's really reducing the power. And when you're talking about a long attrition campaign, just simply of moving, not necessarily the years of war, but even if it was, just a battle race to Moscow, if you will, or Leningrad or Stalingrad or whatever, sort of the race into the Caucasus later on or whatever. That's a long distance on these vehicles and using up a lot of fuel, and you're attriting yourself, at least temporarily, and so your daily tank returns, how many tanks can operate today, Hans? We've got 20 in our division. Okay. Well, we may have 4 knocked out tomorrow and still have 20 because 4 that were just out for, mechanical repair are back now. But it really sort of, so a lot of the casualties are temporary. They're not necessarily, knocked out, destroyed. Well, you can knock out a tank by shooting at its engine or something, or killing some of its crew, and then fully fix it back up and get it back into the field. And if you're winning the battles, you can do that much more easily. So this really was a bad move by Germany, and they're motorizing more stuff without the fuel to support it, without the infrastructure. Now, you would have maybe motorized some more infantry divisions, which with the same amount of motorization, so maybe you would have used the same fuel, but it still does matter. And these divisions, because they have fewer motorized infantry regiments, and I think the motorized infantry regiments, because I think there's standard 3 where this is just 2, I think these motorized infantry regiments, and it varies from different times and whatever, I think they're smaller than, smaller number of battalions, or the battalions are smaller or something than standard infantry regiments. So you're creating neither a fully motorized infantry regiment that's the same as motorized infantry division. Sorry, you're not just creating a motorized infantry division that is the same, combat soldier strength as a non-motorized, marching division. You're creating this sort of hybrid thing that has tanks, but doesn't have a lot of tanks, and is going to use a lot of fuel, but is going to lose its punch because it's going to lose the amount of tanks. So it's just not the good thing. Now, I went in because of the crash. I didn't know this at first. And Revolverheld, if you're still watching this, this no needs only makes us repeat. You have a so I went in to look just to see what you have you set one flag here and you set another flag here, maybe for later purposes. But I couldn't see anything looking for either of these flags when I looked in your decision, so I presume it isn't there now. So we're going to take this, but you need to have, because if you hit no need, this doesn't go away, the decision. So just keep that in mind. You need to tweak that the decision a little bit more, just to look for that flag. So okay. Now we're going to create okay, yes, we'll create these guys. Now, did they get on that? Well, I probably shouldn't even bother trying to scroll all the way down to the bottom of this. No, Shouldn't have bothered. Okay. There we go. Now, if you notice, we haven't picked the national focus yet, and there's a reason for that. They're mobilizing. Oh, we can also, now that it is 41, we can now go to no, here. Instead of war economy, we can go to total economic mobilization. 50%, you know, an extra 25% on more ICs. Reduce money by only 5%. Leadership. I sort of get the idea that more leadership is going to the front, which sort of does officer recruitment help that out, instead of leadership that's doing research or other things, spying, diplomacy. So I sort of get the leadership. Don't like it, but I get it. You know what I mean. This is consumer goods is reduced. Now you do a little bit more daily descent, but I think we're going to be fine, because it looks like we have better, not just with propaganda, but the pure, well, keep that balanced out. And so we will do this. Are you sure? Yes, we want to go to total economic mobilization. Okay, so we're currently at 681, and it's going to jump up there. And that's why we're not doing, only can do fine tunes though. Not exactly sure what this does. Maybe just setting a flag or something. I don't know. But we're going to wait a full day, because we want this to be recalculated the next day. Now, how is this is our sort of last really active front here. Okay. Oh, wow. How did I miss this? I went and looked for anything I could see that would have the flag. Oh, wow. Okay. So I did go in and look for that. I did go in and look to see what, if any was thing looking for the flag, and somehow I missed that. Did a search thing on it. Okay. Just wish I hadn't missed this. No, I'm sort of, in a way, I'm sort of glad that you're seeing, because originally I decided not to take this, but now you can see what the effects are. I'm presuming this is all the effects. The supply, that's fine. I'm getting the idea of that's the greater motorization and foreign motorization stuff. But the combat move speed, that's good. The armor build speed, that's obviously nice. And hard attack, that's nice. Now, as long as it doesn't reduce down... well, it's a foreign, but in these, yeah, they're going to want to be upgraded eventually here, but I'm going to delay the third, I guess. But as long as it doesn't reduce these strength, better not, then I'll get really pissed if it does. Because this is already sort of going down to it. And the reason I don't, not just because it's historical, I don't complain about so much going from here. Well, we'll close that. Or from this, because these are light divisions or regiments, and going to a single, because these are you know, full medium armor, that I'm much more willing to do. So long as we're not doing anything more than that, I'm fine with it. Okay, so okay, twin piston engine things. Twin engine piston. What are we looking for? Sorry, I'm distracted here thinking about this other stuff. Gun position twin engine airplanes have advanced. Okay, now I know what we're talking about. Gun position twin engine airplanes. There, we're going to stop that. Okay, well, Just end that. And not switch it anywhere else. Now, we are now at 880. It was 681. Now we're at 880. So we've gone up by 200 ICs, which is a big jump in ICs. Now, I had already sort of decided, I'm best when I'm spontaneous, but I can sort of kind of recover most of it. Okay, we were at Das Heer last time. Will be removed for this new annual national focus. We can come back and do that. But so last time we got that, which we examined our armaments factory. Well, giving you my current thinking, we're not planning on going after the Soviet Union in 41. It's not going to declare war on me. If it does, I'll go in and change things massively. I know it declares war on you if you like take London or whatever, so but we're not going there. So keep that in mind, folks. If you take London, the Soviet Union decides to attack you. So you better have if you're not wanting to go to war, if you're not already, that's one of the reasons I leave Britain alone, because, and there may be some year date conditions, I don't know, but I just normally leave that alone. So since we're not going to, we don't quite need that 20% manpower bonus. That's nice, but we're just going to go with the 10% of Achtung Panzer and examine our tank factories. Now, my recommendation is always to build the tank factories, never do the boost existing factories. So, because these stay on after the year ends. So those, and also ignore all the lose. If you're actually losing something, it'll be a -1 instead of just a regular 1. So we want to do this, and so we will improve. We can decide if you want to not do anything, you can decide not to examine anything, but this is good. So we're going to build up our tank production all over, so that will reduce unit cost. Oh, and we're going to bring this way down. That's good. We've got, well, a fair amount of supplies. There we go. That's good. So I'll get much more stuff into production. Oh, there they are. There's that big fleet. Now they're down to 4 carrier planes, it looks like. And we got they're getting their butts chewed off. But at least we spotted them, so we've made the dash up to here with these guys, so they're safe for the moment, so they're not going anywhere. Don't know if they're moving troops or what, because they still have liners with them. But they're fast liners, so they're not really slowing them down much. Well, I don't... Oh, these guys here. They're going after their naval air power. Now, they've developed some sort of tricky thing that I guess once in a while they do a check to see if certain units exist, and they respawn the aircraft on the ships or something. I don't know quite what they do, but they figured out a way to put the aircraft back, because the AI just won't re-put, even if they have them, even if you give them by events, they won't figure out to put them back on the ships. So this is a good thing, because we want to fight a real opponent, and not just, well, maybe you want to, I don't. I want to fight. Okay, you can have energy, all the energy you want. That's one thing we have plenty of. So a bunch of the events that we're starting out at the first of the year aren't going to happen until February. Yeah. Nope, more naval battles or air battles over the Navy. Sort of surprised they're not using their power to clean up the Italians here. And that fleet could have smashed into these Italians and just sunk them. Bye-bye the Italian fleet. Okay, yeah, we're producing more than enough. Supplies. Sometimes some of this is just lost sort of in, you know, shipping back and forth. This headquarters is much faster. Turkey is mobilizing. Fine, whatever. I'm not going after you. I hope you're not coming after me. Italy. Yes, you can have energy. Energy was stopping you. That's hardly any, but you can have it. Okay, the Guangxi clique has been taken down. So, oh, they did give this northern part to Manjing or Manguko or whatever you want to call it up here. Meijiang. And so they've taken this. They're probably going to give it over to China here. Maybe once, or once, I don't know, annexed it. I think some events will eventually take care of that. So now, okay, so we've got a lot more stuff in production, including these divisions. Let's do this, get those guys actually in production because they're halfway there. And they'll be quicker to produce. Okay, twin engine armament aircraft, or aircraft armament, whatever, research. So that is here. No, here. 41, so we're good with that for the moment, I think. We could do that. Yeah, let's fighter bomber prototype. Yeah, let's do that. That it's a little older, a little more out of date. The more I've played with this, the more that I've looked at both strategic command, because even though it's in some ways a more simple game, they do things a bit different. The more I've looked at War in the East, the more I've looked at Hearts of Iron 4, as well as taking some of my own much earlier, I mean many years ago, ideas. Some of those are just, nobody does anything like what I want to do. I really sort of would love to design a grand strategy game for World War II. It would be different than anything else out here. Wouldn't want to program it. I'm not that kind of... Okay. Now you see we have this here. National recruiting policy. My suggestion is don't pick that. Because I've picked it in the past, and then I have, once I picked it, I've had it come up and say, and it's picked, say you need to pick it, or give the penalties, and there's no way to pick it because it's already happened. So, I've had that happen to me. Not all the time. I would say that I pre-picked it before it's told me, you know, give me the penalty. So oh no, this is navigation radar. Sorry, wrong thing. Medium navigation radar, is that this one? Yes, okay, we're gonna stop that. And okay, there we go. Some of the panzer divisions are ready. Now, how many do we still have down here? Okay, good bunch, because I don't need a huge number. I'm thinking about trying to... Good. Okay, well, hey, good. My air supply there has got them to move forward. I think that was the only thing keeping them from moving. So, because I think I have enough for down that part of the world. What's this? 101st Panzer Division, okay. Just it doesn't have an HQ. I don't think I don't know. Let's just put it here. Needs an HQ. Did I create this one? Maybe I did. No, I don't know. Maybe I did. Boy, you can tell I'm very clear on what I'm doing. There we go, good attacking division. Why does it think this guy? I have no idea. Is it an A thing? No, it's not always A. Okay, you can. Okay, so we've got our cruiser now in production. Okay, well, I still hasn't come up yet, has it? Okay, now that it comes up and says NPR not selected, now that happens, come here and select it. That's my advice to you. And I just like a balanced approach, but you pick the one you want. And then it'll go away in a day or so. Okay, artillery unit training has advanced. Very good. Yeah, so we're going to shift that up to infantry unit training. Okay, well, we've got a bunch of these guys over here now. I'll give them a couple more days. Well, let's strike down here. Rommel strikes. Okay, now we've lost those effects, so that's good. That's what we wanted to have happen. Twin engine airframe research. Now we'll do twin engine fighter prototype. Okay, active sonar for ships. That is good. Oh, that's up here, I think, and I think it's a one and done. Yeah, yeah. So we've got that. Well, let's not totally neglect this stuff. So let's. Okay, now that we've got that, you're going in there. Oh, they're bombing you now for some reason. They want to bomb you. Don't we have fighters? Here. Oh, we had fighters. Yeah. Bit beat up, but we got fighters. Okay, we'll wait till Rommel gets down there. And then he can support the attack up against the desert rats. And they're counterattacking us. That may be for the better. Grappenberg's in command. And they're going to exhaust themselves on us. Okay, we're giving a little bit more time. Partially just to see what's going on out here, partially to pound any of the naval assets that try to come there. Because we're going to try to move some more divisions to Syria and then hopefully get them in. I think because, I don't know, I think because they're our puppets or something, I think we can maybe get across that border. I'm not sure that we can, though. Oh, good. Well, we could come to here if we want to parachute in. Interception tactics. Here, good. Okay. Well, let's do that. And desert unit training advanced. That's very useful. I think that is, yeah, no, we want to keep that going. And what didn't we see that, small caliber, okay. That's over in artillery, I think. Okay, yeah, that's way too far advanced before we want to try to do anything. That's probably worth doing now. High explosive anti-tank. As you can see here, it really does some hard attack on a few things, but mostly it's just going after much more piercing, so deal with the Soviet armor much better. Turkey, they'd like some energy, sure. And we like to keep you at least neutral. Okay, who do we send east? Well, you know this good there. Yeah, I need to get building some replacement stuff for him. Yeah, you can send him down here, I guess, as well, but Phantom is definite. 6th Panzer Division. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, board the tank. The ships. Board the ships. And okay, because we don't want to. If we take a little bit, if we fully load up our ships, I don't know how close we are at the moment to doing so. If we do, we and take any losses, we start losing brigades. I don't see any current naval force here. And we're pretty fast, though there could be something hiding down here. There could even be something here. I doubt they'll be able to dash out and catch us, even if they see it. We got these guys here. Are we in battle with them? Yes. Okay, they're just coming up after our seaplanes. It's not a major naval unit, not a major bombing force. Okay, medium fuel tank research. Great. And that will open these up, and we're going to do flying boat. Start research. Yeah, now we're pushing, well, not pushing ahead anymore. Okay, direct fire unit training has advanced. Good. We're shifting that over to there. And asymmetric warfare, we've got that done. That's great. Yeah, it's critical. Once, if you're gonna parachute somebody in there, you need to do the best you can, even though it's a small number of units. Oh, they're cutting off our purchasing because, well, maybe either the AI is telling them to, or they're simply running out of money because we're not buying so much stuff from them. Yeah, there's no, that isn't the big fleet. Why are you back there? Okay, you retreat. You're getting pounded. You come back to here. There we go. Now we got some more proper German divisions in there. And they can get replacements coming in. Okay, can we come down to here? Yes, it looks like we can. So we're going to just, okay, and you all fill up. No, okay, so you can be attached. You're over there, but you're going to attach to here. And he should be attached to von Kleist's group. So Panzer Group A Kleist. That should do better. But, oh, well, yeah, the units that are way up there aren't in command anymore, but who cares? For the moment, at least. You come there, on film. You come down there. Inter-service HQs. So now between HQs, between the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army can now talk to each other better. And that is way too far in advance. So that gets ended. And ground attack tactics. Okay, that's good. And we're going to come over here and naval strike. Now, which one of these is still like, oh, gasoline engines. Okay. One of those. It's too many things. So you're going to stop there. Yeah, let's medium armor, light armor. Isn't that? Yeah, fully take up our leadership currently. And you'll notice in leadership a while ago when we looked at it, it was at what is 26. You know, it'd be what 280,000, whereas it was at 260,000 before, still with needing about the same amount of officers. So we've been growing our base a lot more beyond that 110%. So we're going to reduce this down. Not massively, but in a big sort of way. We'll see how this goes. We're going to have a year, preferably without huge officer losses. No, we're not going to do infantry support tanks. We're not going to build any of those, so that's not. But we can do advanced armored designs. It's a 41 technology, and we're in 41. That's good. We are pushing ahead on high explosive. We may do those eventually, but. And yeah, it looks like we can start. Well, we obviously can start in on artillery improvements. Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Better anti-aircraft. Anyway, look there. Here. Air landing? Yeah, might as well. Let's go through that, get that. And we're not being wasteful here. We're going, you know, pretty good targeted motorized support units. That's really useful. And engineering units, that's also very useful. Now, a little more than 1.5 or 1.25 or something, but aircraft prototype evaluation. Yeah, we're going to do these first. We'll get to some of the others soon, but we'll do those first. No, they did take some damage. Now that they're in a neutral port, I don't think they can be attacked. So we'll let them get a little bit more healed up. Well, you know, what we're going to do here, and another thing I haven't been doing, is because I got so trained not to do it by not being able to do it, but we're going to build some more of these guys. And there we go. These should be pretty fast builders, especially these guys. Okay, well, you probably no longer need to fly supply, so we'll send you back up here just so we sort of know where you are. And that goes the same for you, yes. Well, let's just stop that, but leave you there. The Italians can now supply via the sea, so they hold that. Have a radar station, good for them. Okay, they're getting hammered now. So, just go on the defensive for the moment. All you're doing is training up Rommel, guys. Uh-oh. We had a partisan outbreak. Well. Oh, did I send them up there? Yes, forgot. I keep forgetting about it. Send that up to there. Let's send you to here. Convoy rating. Not that we're actually going to meet anybody, but passively. I want to sneak you guys out quietly. Make sure you go up that way. Reinhard, what the hell? Why is Reinhard retreating to Breda? Rommel ain't. Why the hell are you? Okay, we'll come down here and attack this way. Vaguely remember something about that from before, and I don't know what it was. Okay, create the 14th Panzer Division. Okay, we want to do that. And yes, okay, Infantry Division, fine. Okay, cool. 14th Panzer Division was unusual in the German army for not forming in a sequential order. The 14th Panzer Division was formed in August 1940 in Kametz. The 12th Panzer Division, 13th, were not formed until October 41. Okay, well then why are we getting it now? I don't know. But put that to the top there. Yeah, we'll be getting some of this stuff. Mechanization of infantry. And here we have finished the research mechanism, so we can now do mechanized infantry. And reduces softness on some things, increases that, and allows research of mechanized HQs. Okay, so isn't that yeah, one and done? Well, I'll look into that. That may be a very good thing to do. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. We are rebuilding this HQ down here, and it just sort of stuck here, but well, let's move you down here. Even though I know we're going to be moving that down too. Come down to Athens. Uh-oh, major defeat. They drove Rommel back. Punish the enemy. No. Okay, coal to oil conversion. That will help a lot. There, 44, that's why it's too far in advance. We will stop that, and we're not doing that. And so now on industrial technologies. Ooh, I'm tempted. Let's look around here. Civil defense, repair rate, yeah, that's a good one. Medicine, yeah, that's even better maybe. Do now. Right, you come there, you're gonna... Okay. Okay, you're getting yourself better organized. Let's see if you push in against these guys here. Yeah, good. Support that attack. Attack out of Vichy. Yeah, we lost the province. Okay, Deed'll come down there. You can march in the last little bit. Get off the trains and walk. Oh, jet engine research advance. Good. It's under secret. Yeah, we'll let that continue. And has annexed the People's Republic of China. Got rid of the dirty commies. Good. Guess I could force them into the Axis. In Chuko and Beijing. I'd like them in the Axis. Obviously they're already Japan's puppets, but that way we can get them. There I may see about if there's a way to... I don't know it right offhand if there's a command or something I could just do. Again, I don't take that as cheating. I just don't know why they have it. Invite to faction. They are puppets of Japan. Yes, I know, but they are... Japan is in my faction. Okay, we are under attack here. Okay, oh, this is now German territory. Why is this German territory now attacked out of Italy? Okay, steel production, great. That'll help our steel production. And that is even greater here that we can now do these. So we're going to be shifting over to this now that we have that steel production up. Automotive, we'll do this one first. And you come down here. Notice it's almost done. Wow, look at that. I don't know if I've quite looked at that. Mostly from TRE, though, maybe some from others that they've been given bonuses. And we'll move this up just a little bit so that it's up the top fully green. Because all those different automotive things, and they're not meant to, all those automotive whatever, are not meant to give you a free one, but they're meant to, or not meant to give it to you like super early, you know, like too early in the game. I wouldn't have been entirely displeased had this happened on its own, this one particularly, because this is sort of the difference between the automotive industry in Germany versus the automotive industry in Italy, you know, kind of thing. And there's so much more in Germany, so they should have a easier chance at getting that than just generic. Okay, well, this is not what I wanted to do. Why did it switch to Germany? What the hell? What the hell? They're at war. Huh. Okay, now we can do this. I don't know what that was. Okay, maybe it was still thinking we were attacking. I don't know. Or defending. Oh yes, you can have energy all you want. How's Rommel doing? Still needs a little more organization up. Okay, well we should be intercepting thing. Ooh, what's up here? Army Group HQs, that's good. And now too far in advance, so we'll stop that. But reduce time in between attack is most excellent. And because I'm an industrial base kind of thing, we will do this. Get that going. So 12 hours total time reduction between attacks for all of that one tech. You come into here too. Well, I'm gonna risk it. It's fast. Go. Go. We still have some air power in the area. These guys going after those strategic bombers. Okay, now that these are all German, what we're going to do is we're going to retreat back out. Yeah, we've lost, so what? We're going to retreat out because I want the Italians to still push from here, and they'll give up pushing once it becomes a German front. I'm not strong enough here yet, at least, to do it, but we need to get here to be able to save some of this, so we want to move fast. Yes, no. Okay, you go after this garrison unit there. Yeah, you can hold a reserve. You come into here. What are they fighting? Canadians. Now that they've been pushed back, you get to retreat. Cruiser warfare. Okay. Where is... Well, let's undo this and then redo this. I'll put them at the bottom. But how far? Okay, they're almost done. Okay. We want to continue that then. We're going to do light cruiser crew training. not to totally neglect our naval. And they made it without incident, so it looks. And we've now had another crash, and I forgot to try to save it manually. I'm having more problems here. Well, this will end the episode. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.